You're with the Break-a-Leggers! And we're in the heart of London's West End at the Wyndham's Theatre
to see the play Red.
So stay tuned to find out how many legs,
whether it's break a leg or leg it.
Before you brilliant people go any further,
to make sure you've always got your finger on the theatrical pulse
for theatre news, reviews and interviews,
just pop down, hit subscribe now.
Hit subscribe now.
That'll be great, thanks.
That'll be great. So we are seeing the production of Red.
Yes.
Which has been on before.
Yes, it's a bit of a strange story actually. The play is written by John Logan and actually premiered at the Donmar Warehouse in 2009, starring Alfred Molina and Eddie Redmayne.
Big name who's gone on to do amazing stuff, so I imagine he must have been an unknown at the time.
Yeah, and then it sort of skipped to the West End entirely. The Donmar's a really small sort of off-West End space. Went over to Broadway, where it was a massive hit, was nominated for seven
Tony Awards,
and won 6 of them.
And won 6 of them, including Eddie Redmayne won a Tony Award for that.
Best Supporting Actor, and it also won Best Play. Anyway,
and Michael Grandage for Best Director.
Yes, bit of a hiatus then. I say bit of a hiatus. What, 9 years away from the stage? Nearly 8 years if you count the Broadway production. And now it's landed back in the West End. Alfred Molina's still in it, but far too big Eddie Redmayne now. So Alfred Enoch joins him. The story is about Mark Rothko, the famous artist, and he was commissioned to paint some pictures and was kind of failing in his health, so he got an assistant, played in this by Alfred Enoch, the role of Ken, which is a fictional character but based on real life situation.
Okay.
Whilst they created these new pieces of art.
Okay, it's 90 minutes straight through, so no interval breakdown.
No.
Stick around to the end to find out how many legs for this one. We've come to the end of Red here at the Wyndham's Theatre in London's West End. It was Red. So I guess you can go first. What did you make of that?
I enjoyed it generally. I thought it was interesting. I thought it moved really well, most importantly. I mean, it is we've both directed two-handers in the past, and when you've only got a cast of 2, from a director's standpoint, it's really daunting because you're relying on the production values in a lot of senses, and also the capability of your cast in order to drive the story. There's very little to hide behind, and you know what? Michael Grandage has pitched this perfectly. He knows. It's just a really good, strong pair of hands, getting a play which has a lot of elements and goes on a bit of an emotional roller coaster, dealing with 2 characters with very different personality types, but playing them off really well against each other. I do think this is a real director's achievement sort of show, as much as it is the cast themselves. What about you?
I absolutely love this piece. Love it, love it, love it. 90 minutes straight through. I was pretty much hooked on everything that was going on. I love the characters. I love this. Before today, I've heard of Rothko, but I don't really know anything about him, so I did a bit of research beforehand, and he's such a complex, intriguing character, and to be put in the heart of a piece and kind of to be immersed in this world of this creative genius was just a 90 minutes worth of magic, which is really surprising because looking at his art, and I recommend you look at his art, I'll put a couple of pieces just down here so you get an idea if you don't know what sort of art Rothko does. It's kind of quite surprising. You kind of think, I remember I was looking at it today thinking, this is art. This is art, but there's so much going on in his mind to be able to create these pieces, and this piece gives an insight into his mind that there's so much more into it. We'd say we're into theatre, and theatre is so subjective. Anyone can see it, and depending on your background and experiences, you're going to have a different experience. And that is what this is about. What is emotionally invested into creating a piece of art? I love this piece.
So it was all right then? You thought it was okay?
I thought it was fantastic.
Right.
But we'll break it down into its separate elements. But as an overall, I thought this was fantastic for me. I really enjoyed it.
Good. I got to say, it feels like a real labour of love piece by the writer. I think to get hold of a apparently, I mean, we got very lucky because at the end of the show tonight there was a Q&A session with the director Michael Grandage and the two lead roles, Alfred Molina playing Mark Rothko and Alfred Enoch in the role of Ken, all came out and answered questions. And I do feel I got a further insight into the piece, especially from the position of the writer, because Grandage was talking about John Logan himself. You know, Logan stumbled across an idea. There are a couple of artists' assistant. Ken, the character, isn't based on one specific person, but a couple of different, what are they called?
Assistants, technicians,
yeah,
I think they're called.
Technicians of Mark Rothko's, and he's been fascinated by that and has created this story and also given the character of Ken a background and a life outside of Mark Rothko, which is really dramatic and fascinating. John Logan is great. I mean, he's got credits such as, I saw here actually, oh no, it wasn't here, it was just next door. I saw Peter and Alice a few years ago with Judi Dench about the real life story of the characters that Peter Pan and Alice in Wonderland were. These sort of real life figures tend to inspire John Logan a lot, but he also does well with drama because he wrote the screenplays for a couple of Bond films.
Yeah, he's done recent Bond films. Spectre as well. He's got quite a few big film credits actually.
He does. The Aviator, The Last Samurai, goes on and on, but yeah, he is a great name. He's also co-written the book for the musical The Last Ship, which you'll see us review in an upcoming review.
Yes, which is quite exciting, which is a Sting musical. Yeah, John Logan's writing, I absolutely loved the writing. It comes from a place of real intelligence, a real understanding of the characters, real nice dynamic. It wasn't cliche at all. The characters were beyond three-dimensional. They had layers, which is just real beautiful, rich writing and succinct. There was nothing in there that I felt was superfluous. It was all driven. 90 minutes. He could have gone, do you know what, let's have a 2-act piece. No, it's compressed and you follow that journey from start to finish.
What did you think of the actors? How did you find Alfred Molina in the part of Mark Rothko?
Loved him.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest stage actors that I think I've ever seen, to be honest with you.
He was.
He inhabited that character from beginning. I mean, he's on stage before the audience even arrive, and from the moment you see him, he becomes Mark Rothko. You know, he becomes an arrogant, pretentious, uppity piece of dog crap in a lot of respects,
but also
a genius, and also somebody
into philosophy,
that
into tapping into emotion, a linguistic architect of words, of understanding history. He, you know, part of the education that he instills, while he's kind of semi-mentoring this young technician, is, you know, you can't just paint. You've got to have an education, and it comes from knowledge. You've got to understand Shakespeare and philosophy and Socrates and all these big things.
And
in order to invest all that into just a painting.
And he played those levels of Mark Rothko's personality with real sort of clarity, because one moment he did go from this arrogant, kind of hard-faced, just downright nasty guy into someone a bit more vulnerable and a bit more understanding, and actually wants to see the best and bring out the best in other people. Thought that was really interesting, some great characterisation by. Do you know what's tragic about Alfred Molina? He's actually probably best known to the masses as Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2.
That's where I know him from.
So much more than that.
I mean, I recognise his face from Spider-Man 2 as well, so his face has been around. He's also done Feud,
on
which
TV.
is big over in the States.
He got a Tony Award nomination for Fiddler on the Roof recently.
Over on Broadway, fantastic.
He's done The Cherry Orchard, I mean, Chekhov, the on and on and on.
He's
Alfred
big.
Enoch, though, we must talk about, because his stage credits are very few. You will probably best know him as Dean Thomas in the Harry Potter series. He did 6 of the 7 films. But do you know what? His career is going to go stratospheric, I think.
I really enjoyed his performance. He was really solid and really strong. I almost wasn't sure to start with, because before this part has been played by Eddie Redmayne.
Yes.
Who's
and Jonathan Groff.
Jonathan Groff, who are both massive in their own rights. Well, Redmayne is huge.
Yeah.
Jonathan Groff has done fantastic things over on Broadway. So to come in and fill these shoes they're quite big shoes to fill, but I thought he did brilliant. He grew through the part, and I really cared for him in the moments where he finds his voice and finds his character, and he comes alive and he starts to live, so the Rothko character says. You know, I thought he did really well. I was very safe in his hands.
Also, something that you mentioned on the way out that I think is important. You loved the composer, sound designer Adam Cork.
Yes, this show. Now I'm going to briefly say. When it was over here, it was in the Donmar 10 years ago, and we don't think it was eligible for any awards.
No.
We don't think. However, when it went over to Broadway, it was eligible. It won Tony after Tony after Tony, 6 of the 7 that it was nominated for. I almost wonder if bringing it back now, whether it will be eligible for awards, and if it is, this piece will be nominated for sound or music. I'm not quite sure what category they'll put it in. I'd almost put money on it, and at this moment in time in this calendar, so far what I've seen so far to be eligible.
Well, we've only been a couple of weeks.
It's only been a couple of weeks
season,
in, but I'd say this is a strong contender. I absolutely loved it. It made the moments where just the scene changes. It made them really revenant is the word I want to say. So it was almost ceremonious, and I had a real connection. The music really drove that real specific underscoring to key moments. It was fantastic sound.
For me, I had the same reaction to the lighting. Mark Rothko himself was absolutely obsessed with light,
yes.
with where light comes from and how light can change someone's perception of things.
Work, yeah.
And you know what? When I saw Mark Rothko's paintings on stage, lit in several different lighting states, they did come alive in different moments.
They did.
Like they became different pieces.
It was alive.
So you start you hear him talk about how well the natural light would be no good for it, and you think as a layman, light is just light. Get over yourself. But do you know what? Neil Austin, the lighting designer, has really taken that on board to say, no, these pictures have got to be different in different states of light to show what Mark Rothko means. And you know what? They've both got it bloody right.
Yeah, and the more I looked at his art through the light that was on the stage, it did. That's quite an accomplishment. I can see how that is a piece of art.
Yeah.
And Mark Rothko's art has gone on to be worth millions and millions and millions of pounds. Like up there in the most expensive art.
Absolutely.
Post World War art, I think it was. And also, what was I going to say? Nope, it's gone.
Well, thanks for that. If it comes back to you, do let us all know.
Well.
Anyway, I bet you're wondering how many legs we're going to give this piece.
So for Red, which is currently playing at the Wyndham's Theatre, the Breaker Leggers are going to give 4 legs. A really good, nice piece of theatre. I really personally enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was a great theatrical experience, the elements of which came along to tell a really pacey 90 minutes, which was engaging throughout. And like I say, in a two-hander, that's a massive achievement. It didn't blow me away. I'm not sort of clinging off the back of my seat. I was for things like a Virginia Woolf. Check our review up there. But you know what? It had moments of utter genius, much like Mark Rothko himself.
Yeah, it was very clean. I love the narrative of the story. It does have a journey. You care about this character coming into this person's life, being mentored, giving these nuggets, these gems, and then being told to find his own voice and his own story. And that is really resonant. It's a really nice, inspiring message and story. And just to make a story of Mark Rothko, but they've made it quite pretty good.
That's just what we thought.
Just what we thought.
What did you think? Have you seen this piece? Maybe you caught the production back 10 years ago, or even saw it on Broadway.
Who did you see?
Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, let us know. Leave a comment below.
We're the Breaker Leggers, and we'll catch you again soon.
Bye.